Sounds
There we go.
good.
Okay, I'm recording. Okay, well, welcome to our first webinar. This is something new that we've started for 2020 to help our customers be able to fully utilize eSchedule and give you a chance to ask some questions. Or if you didn't really have questions, to kind of watch as we kind of review some of the main concepts with eSchedule. Sometimes there's a feature or something that you might not be aware of that you haven't used yet. It'll give you a chance to fully utilize eSchedule by finding out some of the other pieces of it. So my name is Heather Strundlock, and I am part of the customer support team. And joining us today also is the founder of eSchedule, Dave Falcone.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining.
So again, I'll ask, do you have any questions before I start? No? Okay. Okay. Well, then how about we just jump in the schedule? Okay. Going in the schedule, we've got different views. We've got an hourly view. We've got daily graphical. We've got weekly graphical, which is the daily graphical times 7 that you can scroll through. We've got a weekly spreadsheet view, and we've got a monthly. A lot of times, if you are scheduling a bunch of employees, the weekly spreadsheet view can be a little easier to use because you can kind of see multiple days at a glance. And you can also see which shifts are open and which ones are filled. What I've got up on my screen right now is a view I created with a couple of shifts. And this window right here is our view window. And if I click all, it'll pull up the whole schedule. And we can create, since this is kind of long and I have to keep scrolling, we can create views and you can tell us what shifts you want, and we can customize that. We can have as many views as you like. So we've got some different, on this particular site that I use for testing and demos, I just have one view. But I could add others. And then you can also look at shifts individually. Like, let me just pull up. Here's one shift from the schedule, and you can isolate and look at shifts individually. So going along with that, other things that you can do to make your experience with eSchedule customized, we can go over to this option over here, which is schedule preferences. And everyone has access to this, so you can set your own preferences for eSchedule. You can set a default schedule type that you like. You can set a default view. We have this turned on as a default of all for our customers, but you can set your own. Sometimes employees, if they work a particular tour or a particular department, will set their default view to their to where their scheduled hours are. You can also, if your agency utilizes departments, you can also default that way as well. So we've got some different options, and these are what you want to see on your screen. Some users prefer a cleaner look. Some want as many details as possible. So we can do things like show or hide the time of the shift, an EMT level, which is on the user profile, EMT level, it could be for fire departments, it could be firefighter level as well. We can customize that for you. Recurrence icon would be a shift that has a hello, welcome. The recurrence icon would be recurring shifts. If you have shifts, employees that work set shifts, you'd be able to see that by some arrows. I'll show you one above. Closed shifts. This is probably. Hi, could you put yourself on mute, please? Thank you. Okay, So closed shifts, this is something that we're asked about quite a bit, and I'm gonna show you how to do that. That's a great way to remove hours so that they're not seen on your schedule, so employees can't bid on them. Or as sometimes I get panicked calls in support, I've deleted part of my schedule and I need to get it back, and I'm going to show you how to get that back if you close some shifts or parts of shifts and you need to get those back. And shift notes are great to add information to the schedule. It's visible to everyone if you need to make a note or something. So within this, we can turn these options on and off. I'm going to have them all show so we can go through here. And I'm not sure how big people's screens are, so I will make this a little bigger so you can see it a little bit more. On my schedule, I've just got a couple of people scheduled on here. If we look at this first person up here, we've got F sellers. And if we hover over here, we see that he is a paramedic, designated by the P. If he was a trainer, and that's something else that can be set up on a user profile, you'd see that designation as well, and that would be a red background with a white letter. You can see in the next icon here is it's a recurring shift. We've got these black circles with the arrows, and that designates that it's a recurring shift. And then we see the time of the shift. This shift in particular is 7 to 23, and this person is signed on for the whole shift. What happens if you have someone that can only work part of a shift? Let's just put somebody on for part of a shift. We'll just put this Adam on, and we'll put him on instead of working 7 to 23, which is a full time the shift. We can make it custom. Let's put him on from 7 to 17, and we'll sign him on. So now Adam's on for part of the shift, and we see that the rest of it is available. So you'd be able to put another employee there, or another employee would be able to bid. And if we look at Andrew's designation, he's an AEMT. So looking, and we see that F sellers is on a recurring shift. If we use this arrow, we can scroll further on the schedule, and we can see that he works Mondays and Wednesdays. Well, what happens? Life happens. What happens if Fred is sick or he wants to take a vacation day? You don't have to wreck the whole rotation for the employee. Sometimes these are very time-stakingly set up, especially if you've got, employees working different hours, different weeks, and you've got a longer rotation. So if somebody needs to take off for one day, you just click on the shift, and you can sign them off. And when you sign them off, takes them off the schedule that day, you'd be able to schedule another employee. What happens if you want to let everyone know that somebody, that there's an open shift that you need to fill? So when we sign them off, we can do a little extra. We can just sign them off, which, as you just saw, just takes them off the schedule. If you have the time clock feature, you can mark them absent, and that will create a punch. So you'd be able to track their absences. Some agencies do that to track attendance for their employees. So if you have a time clock and the person signing off the shift is a time clock administrator and has that permission, they would see this box and they could do that. Another option would be to send an email to all people that are cleared as medics. So this would send an email to all of your members that are cleared as medics from their user profile, telling them that there's an open shift. So you've got, you can do none, you can do both, or you can do one or the other. So you got a lot of options here. This is kind of a nice feature. We added this over the summer because we had a lot of customers that were asking for it. And so we listened to our customers and we try to add as many features as we can that try to benefit as many of our customers as we can. So other things that you might do, you might have a shift that has, that might not have the same times during the week. For example, this shift right here, you know, is 7 to 23 every day, but maybe you don't have the shift on the weekends. So you could close the shift so you don't have employees bidding, or there's no confusion as to whether it needs to be staffed or not. So to close a shift, you just select it, and what you're going to do is every customer has an employee called ZZ Close Shift. It's always going to be at the end of your list. That's why we named it ZZ. And what you're going to do is sign them onto the shift. And when you sign them onto the shift, it's going to gray out. So let me just do it straight so you can see. Now you can see it looks like it's signed on. If we go back, this is where you go back to your preferences, and if you hide the closed shifts, it's grayed out. So it looks like it's not there. Or as sometimes the customer will call, part of my schedule is gone. How do I get it back? Well, you get it back by going to your settings, and you can show them, and now you can see that ZZ Close, and this is just would be the same way as if you had another employee signed onto the shift. So now I can come over here and I can sign off, and it puts the shift back. So what happens if these shifts are closed every weekend? Well, you don't want to be doing, you don't want to do that by hand. This is where recurrence will come in. So we'll click on this shift, and we'll assign it to ZZ Close Shift, and we'll do a recurrence, which is right down here. You'll have a hyperlink to add recurrence. A couple of these is 2448 and this week 1. These are custom recurrences that are in this site. We can build customer, and this Columbus one as well. These are custom recurrences, and we can add those for your schedule. We do have customers that have like 56-day cycles that their employees work, the schedules. We can set those up for you, so you can start the employee on the day 1 of their rotation, and it'll keep going. This will save you a lot of typing. So I'm just going to set this to go because we're going to close it for the weekend. So we'll just close it for Saturday and Sunday. Recurrences run 1 year from 1 year from the 1 year into the future. We don't recommend going beyond a year. I'll just go a couple of months. And I'll sign on in now. Now it's closed, and if I use this arrow and I scroll forward, they're closed for many months into the future. I could keep going, but you have to take my word for it. So if I come here to the calendar, I ended it in June, so we'll go into June. And see, they're still closed. Now, if I want to go back to today, I can use this arrow and scroll back and bore you all, or I can just click today and go back to the schedule for this week. And I think I set those recurrences starting next week. Okay, any questions at this point? Wow, you are all so quiet. Okay, so what happens if we have an employee and we need to make a note about their shift? We can come in and they can be on their shift or scheduled for a shift, and we can make a note. Maybe he has to go to a meeting. Maybe he has to go to a meeting at 1400, and we'll update that. And there you go. So everybody will see that F. Sellers has to go to a meeting at 1400. I'm not sure what that means, but everybody's going to know he's got a meeting. So, so what else can you do with your schedule? Well, if your employees submit availability, and they're going to do that from the schedule, and they're going to be able to submit their availability. And it's going to open up a calendar. It's going to show them all of your standard shifts, and those are the shifts. Oops. And those are the shifts that are going to show up when you go to schedule a shift. So these are the different times of the shifts that are on the schedule. So when it maps to that, when you pull up, this shift is, I don't even know what I clicked. Whatever I clicked was a 7 to 23 shift, so it pulls there. If we need to do other, it can be down here. So so for the submitting availability, it pulls those different times. There's an all-day option, or they can do custom times. If you don't want your employees to do custom times, we can turn those off. So the employee submits their availability for the next month. Like right now we're in January, so they're going to be submitting for February. They're going to submit. I'm an admin, so I'll do this for one employee. Let me see. We'll do one. We'll submit some availability for next week. Okay, and I'll go up here and I'll submit. So now Tim Colby has submitted his availability for February. So now, as an admin, if I go to the availability report, I can see who's submitted their availability and what times they have. I can look at it from here. I can look at, whoops. I knew I was going to click the wrong button at some point. I was pretty good. Okay, we're 19 minutes in. Okay, here's the availability submission report. This would be a summary of who's submitted their availability. So we can see that for February, Danielle submitted hers. And Tim submitted his, and Dave, I don't know why it's not showing up. Was it because I did it instead of the user?
What was the dates that you did it for though? Did you do it for the current month?
I did it for February.
Oh, you did it for February. Go back into the availability. Submit availability.
I did it for him.
Okay. Bring it up. It should show. Check it one more time and then scroll down and click submit. All day.
Yeah, we'll do a couple days.
Try different times too.
Okay.
All right. Give her a peek. What was Tim's last name?
Colby. Okay.
We can double check, but Tim might be like a volunteer or something.
All right. So we can see that Danielle's submitted some availability. So if we go back up to the schedule, hey, and now you guys know that this is live because something went wrong. So this isn't pre-recorded. Okay. So we go back up to the schedule, and now if we need to build the schedule, we want to use availability, we can click on this green icon right here that shows availability. And in these green blocks will display the employees that are available. So you do have to come up to the shift and you do have to select the employee, but this is going to be a lot more helpful. And a lot of agencies come to us, having employees do like a paper submission. You're going to have the information right there. And this is also helpful to come in here. Obviously, once we add all these extra rows, it's going to make the schedule that much longer. And this is a great place to come back and use views. It'll make it smaller, be less on the screen. Any questions at this point? Wow, you guys are really quiet. Okay. So what else can we do with the schedule? I don't think. Dave, are any of these standby shifts?
I don't believe so.
No. Okay. I'll have to add some of those for next time. Okay.
Did you wanna go over maybe how to link your schedule?
Sure.
That seems to be a common
Sure.
question. How to link your schedule to
Okay.
your phone or something like that?
So to sync your eSchedule shifts, you can do them to your to your phone, to a Google Calendar, to Outlook, or to Apple products. If you come down to Schedule and go to My Schedule and click this play button and click on this calendar icon, you will pull up. These are the instructions. You have Google for Apple and Outlook, and it's going to set up. Um, if you just like, we'll do Google. So we'll just click on those instructions. So what you do is you do have to set it up from your calendar and basically grant eSchedule permission. And then it will, it will sync and the shifts will show up on your calendar. Sometimes it can take 2 hours. It's a Google thing in particular. Did you want to?
Yeah, the replication of your calendar into either, Google or iOS or what have you is dependent upon when your phone decides to uh, pull and sync that calendar. So it can take some time. Typically, by looking at our logs, a person may replicate their calendar 4 to 6 times a day.
And as a note, if you have employees who are married or family members, and they may be people that share a calendar, you can have multiple people sync to the same calendar. I know in my family we had 3 of us all syncing the same calendar, and it worked great. We just gave everybody a color, and you could see who was working when. Any questions? Everybody's so quiet. Wow, everybody is so quiet.
Another thing you might want to go over, it's not really schedule related, but sending out a on-demand um, email or text
Okay.
seems to be
Okay.
something that people ask a lot about.
Okay. And we have a video about this too. Okay. So you go to the administration menu and you go to email membership. It's a little misleading because not only you email, you can send internal messages and texts. So up here we have your users, and you can just click on them and pick them and manually add them. Down towards the bottom, this is where we have canned lists that are based on information in the user profile. You can, like, for example, send to all. You could send to, all of your administrators. You could send to people with a certain level, like you could send to all of your drivers, or you could send to all of your part-time drivers. Some of the criteria won't be applicable to your agency. You'll just kind of have to pick and choose which works best for you. And so you pick, email, you can BCC everyone, which is great because if people reply, then you won't have it going to everyone. So you have subject, message. We recommend less formatting. Less formatting is more formatting. And it just makes it, less formatting is best. And text messages go down here. So there would be a text. And then you just hit, and this is gonna err on me because these people don't have email addresses in here. And you hit preview. Yeah, it's not gonna let me do it. I think I might have an address in here. Let me see. I forget I send stuff to myself all the time in here when I'm sending up test messages. Which account is it? Guess we'll find out in a minute. Okay. And we'll do preview, and here we go. There we go. Okay, so this window will give you a chance to preview the message before you send it. If you're like me, I find sometimes I'll realize that I've made a mistake or spelled something wrong, and so it gives you a chance to go back before you send. And I'll just hit send. Okay, then we go back to email membership. The other piece of this are internal messages. Internal messages are great because they pop up right in eSchedule, and you can see when people have read them. Oops, I spelled test wrong. Okay. All right, we'll send it. So this is nice. So let me log back out and log back in, and you'll see it'll pop right up. See, pops right up when I go to log in. So I know that I have a message that I need to read. Now, as an administrator, if I'll have the option to this question mark, it shows you a list of who the message was sent to and when they read receipt. So you'll be able to see, you know, who's read it and who hasn't. So now to read, I just have to click on it, read the message, check the box. I've read the message in its entirety and confirm. And now if we'll go back to show all, and here's a message that I just sent. And if we look at that again, you'll see now it's populated with the timestamp. Another thing that we can do with this is we can change your settings if you want to make sure and control how much your users are doing in eSchedule. If you have a time clock, we can make it restrictive so that employees have to read their messages before they're able to do other things in eSchedule. And that's something we can discuss offline. Any questions about the messages? Okay, well, we're right at 12:30. So I think if there aren't any questions, I think we'll wrap it up. We're going to make a recording of this to make it available to you. We thank you all for attending.
Can I ask one?
Sure, of course.
I was trying to just be quiet till the end there, but how do you create a schedule? Say you've added 3 more ambulances. How do you create those ambulance shifts?
You contact us and we build them for you. Yep.
Okay, so we cannot build our own shifts then?
At this time, no.
Okay.
Yeah, Mary Ann, we typically turn that around in about a business day.
Okay, because then we have a lot of building to do together.
Yep.
We have a lot of building to do.
Okay, any other questions?
Nope.
Okay, well, thank you all for coming. We're hoping to do this monthly, and we're going to have a different, we went with some of our frequently asked questions in the schedule today. We're going to go with different modules every month to go through and kind of review. But we welcome questions and suggestions. So if you have a topic or something that you'd like discussed, in more depth at a future webinar, please let us know. We'd be happy to consider it. Or if you need some one-on-one time, we'd be happy to book that and go over something privately with you. So thanks a lot, and I hope you all have a great day. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Take care. Yep. Bye-bye.